Welcome to episode 5, Shapiro's Rooted in American Craft. I am Matt. That's my sister Alena. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, our show is all about family business, American made, American handcraft, and what it's like running a small business with your sister, your mom, and your dad. So welcome to Shapiro's Rooted in American Craft. Last week, we interviewed one of our awesome jewelers, Christina Kober. As you guys know, she kind of grew up in a family business as well, where she got a lot of advice from her dad. She took some inspiration from what he did and brought it into her jewelry work. And then from there, she was able to create her own thing. It gave us the idea of this episode, we should bring on our dad, so you get to meet him and kind of hear a little bit about kind of how the gallery started and how we got to where we are today. So I hope you stick around. I think you're really going to enjoy this show. As always, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Shapiro's Rooted in American Craft. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow. Make sure you like. Don't forget about the social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We're always updating it. We're always keeping it fresh. Alena, you do an awesome job.
Thank you.
So guys, just do what you have to do. You know what to do. Share it, like it, follow us, talk to your friends. You know the routine. So welcome, episode 5. Whew, what an introduction that was. I'm out of breath. But just in time for my favorite segment. Shapiro's Out of the Gallery. What did you do, Alena? What's going on? How's your week been?
I've had a good week. Let's see, what have I done outside the gallery? Avery had a birthday party she had to go to for one of her friends, so we got to go to that. They had a giant inflatable water slide, so she was super excited about that part, and we're still just, getting her ready for kindergarten. She starts next week, and that's kind of been taking up all of our time.
I love the polar extremes of your life with the kids, and then it's my life. Yeah. And, you're going to birthday parties and everything centered around the kids. And meanwhile, I'm playing volleyball, I'm coaching soccer. And actually this week, we started planting grass in the backyard. And it was going so well until it wasn't. And I had the greenest grass I've ever had in my life. And then I mowed it. And the next morning I woke up and Courtney looked at me and she said, it's all dead. So, maybe I need to start doing the birthday party things with Avery and Zoe instead. It's a lot less work in some regards.
I don't know about that.
That's true. It's easy being the uncle. I don't get to see the difficult side. But the backbreaking work of putting in the grass, it was a pain. And so we're going to try again. We're going to take 2 and try to get a green grass in the backyard just in time for rainy season.
Okay.
So school starts this week?
The 12th, August 12th. Oh. So next week.
Oh, so next week.
Yep.
Is she excited?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, kindergarten's a big deal, but she's ready. So she's probably more ready than Guy and I are, but it's all right.
Well, pretty soon we can have her working at the gallery and helping us out. Similarly to what you did in high school. So
exactly. So today we are bringing Dad on. Mike is going to come on and kind of give his view of the gallery and talk a little bit about how him and our mom, Sue, started the gallery back in 1998. And even, before that, kind of what led up to the formation of Shapiro's Gallery, and also kind of give a little bit from his side what it's been like having Matt and I join in the business and watching, what direction we're taking it in.
Should we grab him? Should we have him come on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Mike, come on down.
It's about time you guys included me. What is this? Is this like your 10th episode or something?
Something like that.
Well, it's nice to be invited to the podcast.
Well, we just wanted to work out all the kinks so that when we had you on, we knew what we were doing.
Ah, okay. I thought you were hiding me or something.
No, but to get back to why the people are here, um, obviously the podcast, as you've witnessed over the past few weeks, is kind of giving a behind the scenes look of the gallery and allowing people to get a better understanding of who we are and kind of what the gallery is and how it's kind of evolved over the past 25 years. So we thought it was a good idea, and we wanted to bring you on to really kind of get your take on what the gallery's been like before Matt and Alena, and also since Matt and Alena. And we thought it'd be interesting for quite a few people to learn about us. So, growing up, were you ever into art? Did you want to be an artist?
So, no, the answer is no. Growing up, my mom and dad had a lot of art in their house. I was surrounded by art. They had a lot of friends who were artists, but I myself never paid a whole lot of attention to it until I met your mom when she was in art school. And that's when I started paying attention to art and specifically an artist.
So, what were your interests? What did you do? What did you do before the gallery?
Okay. So I had a career before the gallery. I had a career working with teenagers with drug and alcohol problems that were court-ordered into residential treatment. My background was in counseling and education. So in those years, and I did that for almost 18 years. And while I was doing that, your mom was a working artist, and we were selling her work on weekends at art shows. So I worked in the residential treatment program. Your mom was an artist, and then I got this crazy idea after about 18 years of this that maybe I could go work with your mom. So I left my career as a doing counseling with teenagers, and she looked at me like I was crazy. But I said, no, I think we can make this work. And she said, what do you envision? I said, well, I think we can replace my salary if I help you in the studio, if I do the grunt work, if we do more art shows, and I take over the business side. Not thinking that we had two small children at home, and that, by the way, when I left my job, I also left the benefits like health insurance. But I wasn't thinking that clearly back then. All I knew is I wanted a career change, and this looked like a pretty exciting opportunity. So we did.
And this was before the gallery, right? This was
Right.
when mom was doing clay work.
Right. So this would have been in the mid 90s. So I left my job. You guys may remember that. I'm not sure. I went to work in the studio. And then sometime around 1998, when I think, Alena, you were probably 12, Matt, you were 9, your mom and I realized that making money on the weekends, if it didn't rain, really wasn't a good business plan. And we thought we should open up a brick and mortar gallery so we'd have a chance to make a little bit of money every single day rather than just on the weekends. And if you recall, in those days, that's when we were running around the Midwest and the Northeast and the Southeast trying to make a living selling your mom's clay work. So we did. In 1998, we took the plunge and opened a very small gallery on Central Avenue in downtown St. Petersburg.
What was your biggest fear when you took the leap?
I think I was young and dumb and had dreams that we could make this thing work. One thing, you've heard me say this before, but your mom and I never really had a plan. We had ideas. And when an idea came up and we thought it was a good one, we would go for it. So I think at the time when we opened the gallery, I thought it would be, I didn't see it as a negative. I saw it as an opportunity to make more money. Like I say, it got us off. If we did it right, it would get us off the street. So what happened in those days, it was a very small gallery. It wasn't generating enough income. So in addition to having the storefront, we also had to continue going to art shows because we weren't making enough initially in that small gallery. We were there till 2001 when we had an opportunity to expand our store and move to a busier location. And when we did that, that changed our life.
What do you think the biggest change was from art shows to the Central Ave gallery to the Baywalk location?
Sure. So, I think in a lot of ways the business was the same in each location. Just the scale was different. When we had a chance to move from Central Avenue to Baywalk, to give you an example, our rent went from $500 a month to $5,000 a month. We went from a payroll that included your mom and me, if we sold enough that week, to suddenly having employees. So suddenly the realities of running a business were far greater when we moved to the Baywalk location in 2001. Things got real serious there. But we also realized that was where the money was, and that was the potential. Because really, in the end, rather than selling maybe 2 or 3 things a week, we were selling 5 or 6 or 15 or 20 things a day. So the only difference was we were selling the same things, items made by artists and crafts people from around the United States, except we were just selling it on a more consistent basis and on a larger scale.
How long was it only Mom's Claywork until you brought on additional artists to fill the gallery?
Boy, we started with just, as you might know, we started with just your mom's Claywork. We had her clay studio in the back. We had the small retail space in the front. And then I think after months, we started one by one adding more artists. I remember, you might find this kind of humorous, we went to our first trade show. We went looking for artists to bring into the gallery. And our budget to do that was like $5,000. That's all we had. But your mom and I took that real seriously, and we went up and down all the aisles, and we had to make decisions on what could we buy. But we realized that we needed to expand, and we did. And really, over the years, we were only in that small store for 3 years, I think. But we had to enlarge the gallery space 3 different times before it was necessary for us to move to a new location, because we realized that we needed to grow if we were going to make this work.
So how many artists do you think you went from on Central to Baywalk? How many more did you add?
Oh, I bet easily we added over 150, because we went from a small space, to maybe 3 or 4 times the space. And that was huge, because we realized that in order, the old saying was, you can't sell from an empty wagon, and we had to fill our wagon, and we had a lot of different customers, so we needed to have a lot of different things in that wagon. So that was the challenge. How do you fill that store with enough variety to appeal to all the different people that were going to be there? You got to remember, in that location, we were open 7 days a week, until 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's a lot of people coming through.
And how do you think that, one of the things that we talked about a couple episodes ago was how important our relationship is with our artists when it comes to our buying. How do you think the relationship that you and Mom had built with artists over the years helped you initially with getting the gallery going?
Well, sure. That's huge. You've learned, or I hope you've learned, that the key to this business is relationships. It's not only relationships with the artists or with our vendors, it's also relationships with the customers. And if those relationships, aren't cherished or aren't valued, the business is not going to last very long. We worked real hard at cultivating real positive relationships with all of our vendors and all of the artists. And there were many years, we've had the gallery now, 26 years. And there were many lean years, where whether it was a commercial real estate collapse or a recession or a pandemic or a shutdown or whatever, there were a lot of, peaks and valleys. And during those valleys, it was difficult to pay everyone on time. I worked real hard at making sure that I didn't hide from anyone. And I promised them that, I didn't know there was going to be a recession. I really, when I bought something from you, I really thought I could pay you in 30 days. And I'm sorry I can't right now, but believe me, I will do that. And they did. They believed us. And many of those folks are still with us today. So yeah, I think that's critical, that you've got to treat your artists, you got to treat your vendors, you got to treat your customers, as a precious and valuable commodity, I guess.
And kind of piggybacking off relationships, what was the relationship, or how did you balance the work life relationship prior to Alena and I joining, when it was just you and Mom?
I think the success was that we each have our areas of expertise. We each have our strengths, and we don't step on each other's toes. And we do that professionally, but we also do that personally. And no, I won't say it's a big division, because we spend, in all those years that we've had the business together, we spent a lot of time at home talking about, or worrying about, or thinking about, or planning the business. So I can't say that there's a clear separation between work and home, because there's not. That wouldn't be honest or accurate. But I think you try to take moments when you can to get away from it and say, okay, no more shop talk. We have other interests. We do. So, I think that's how we balanced it. But I think the key to it is that we never stepped on each other's toes. I didn't get in the middle of what she was doing, because I wasn't very good at it and I didn't have the interest. And she absolutely positively doesn't want to get in the middle of what I do, because she has no interest in it either. So that kind of works.
So then, well, thank you for helping pave the way for Alena and I. And for those that don't know, Alena first started at the gallery back in high school. What was it like having your high school daughter work at the gallery?
I think it was pretty cool when you were able to come work at the gallery. It was such a family project. You guys grew up in a little store. You were always going to art shows. So for you to actually be able to come in and get a paycheck and actually get something tangible from it, it was also good to know that there was someone else there that I could trust implicitly. Not that I didn't trust our staff, but it was nice having a family member there a lot of the time. So I thought it was great. I thought it was pretty cool that we were able to grow a business where you could get a job in high school. I thought that was pretty, that was fun.
What was it like for you, Alena?
To be totally honest with you, I don't really remember a lot of working there in high school. I know I did, but for me, I think it was, what I appreciated the most about it was when I joined back on after college, some of the women that I worked with in high school were still with us. So it was cool for me to work with them when I was 16 years old, and then come back at 22, 23, however old I was, and continue to build that relationship with some of our longtime staff that we had. So that, I think that was the coolest part for me.
And for full disclosure, the plan was never for Alena or I to be a part of the gallery. We both went to college. We both got our degrees in whatever our fields of study were. And we both somehow ended up back at the gallery. So when I called you in 2011 and said, I think I want to work at the gallery, what went through your mind?
I was kind of like, okay, this is good, but how long will this last? I wasn't sure whether were you coming home because you really wanted to do this, or were you coming home because you didn't have any better options? At that time, I think we had just relocated down to Beach Drive. And it was kind of an exciting time, and quite frankly, I needed the help. So when you kind of called it an opportune time, and I wasn't really going to think a whole lot about it, because even if it was temporary, which is what I probably thought it was at the time, I welcomed you coming home, and I welcomed you being part of it. I think the real challenge came when Guy finished school, and you guys, Alena, you and Guy came back to St. Petersburg, and you said, hey, I want in too. That's when I went, oh, can I say something? No.
I'd rather you not.
Okay. That's when I got scared, because I'm thinking, okay, now this is another salary, and how are we going to do this? But again, it goes back to what I said earlier. Your mom and I never really had a plan. Just opportunities kind of present themselves, and we make a decision: should we go for it or not? So in this instance, with Matt, with you coming home, and Alena, then with you coming home, it was absolutely, let's go for it, and let's figure out a way to make it work. It may not make sense. It may not be the best business decision, but let's do it. And I think it's turned out to be an exceptional decision.
Well, and if I remember correctly, it was never like a given that we could get the job. You wanted us to sort of prove to you and to
Sure.
Mom what we could bring to the table and how, how were we going to grow the business? So it wasn't like a handout to us that was like, oh yeah, your last name is Shapiro, of course you get to, come on in. We really had to kind of prove to you with our skills, like how we thought we could grow things.
Right. I also, now that you mentioned, I remember having this conversation with Matt telling you that, you just can't come in here and say, oh, I'm the boss, so I can do what I want. No, you've got to, there are people that worked here at that time. We had folks that worked with us for, 10, 15 years, and who the heck were you to come in? You had to do all the grunt work and take out the trash and earn your stripes and do, learn what you were doing and earn their respect. I think you did that. And Alena, you did the same thing when you got there. You didn't take anything for granted. So I think you guys were pretty smart how you entered the workforce at Shapiro's Gallery.
And how do you think the family has changed the gallery with Alena and I joining and coming in? How do you think it's changed how the gallery is perceived by the public or by those that live in the area?
Your mom and I have grown I believe, a really successful business that became, part of the downtown fabric. However, you guys have come in and taken it to another level. I don't know if we would have made it through the pandemic if you all hadn't done what you did. I don't know that for certain, but I've thought about it before, that some of the changes we made and some of the decisions that were made at that time, both on the floor and behind the scenes, I don't know if I would have done those. And I think that helped us get through a really difficult time. Look, there's no arguing if we just look at if we're going to graph our sales since you two have joined, they've gone up. And it's not just because inflation. I mean, you seriously have grown the business. So I give you all the credit. I think your mom and I took it to a place and we kind of maybe plateaued. And I think then you took the plateau and you started, raising the bar once again. So I give you two a lot of credit for that.
Thank you.
And I think we have to give credit back as well for the control that you and Mom have given up as well. What was it like trusting Alena and I to try to take it to the next step after 20 plus years of a successful gallery? And you called it the plateau, to say, all right, I can live my life at this plateau, or you and Alena can take it and we may run it right into the ground. Who knows? How did you convince yourself, or how did you give up control of the gallery as willingly as you have to allow us to kind of be free and let it grow?
I think it all goes back to never having a plan. I have trust. Your mom and I trust our instincts. They may not always appear to make the most sense. They may not, from a business perspective, they may not have always been the most sound decisions, but we've taken a lot of risks over the years. And so far, most of them, have been pretty successful in the end. So, when you two decided you wanted us to add high-end jewelry, and that was going to take a large infusion of cash to make that happen, we're like, okay, let's do it. What's the worst thing that happens? Okay, you maybe you lose some money, or maybe you gotta, take a few years to get even again. But so what? So I think, it's just a question of trust and faith. I also think that, when I realized that you all were serious about this, and that, it's different for me to say, okay, I want to have a business that I wanted to survive for another 5 years or 10 years, and I'm going to sunset it. You can run a business that way, but you have plans for this business to go long after that. So then that changes my thinking. And if it's going to be you who are going to continue this thing, then I got to, let you drive it and go where you think it needs to go. I mean, that's what your mom and I did. So I I think, how did I get there? I think I got there by just having faith that that you two know what you're doing. And the reality is that, as funny as that may sound, you two at your age know a hell of a lot more about running this business than your mom and I did at the same age. And, some of the mistakes that we made, God knows there were plenty of them you're not going to make. You've already learned those. You saw the results of those mistakes.
So the gallery is one of the oldest for-profit art galleries in St. Pete. Have you ever stopped and thought about what that means?
Yeah, Matt. I'm real proud of what we have created. I think we are, we are a destination in town, and we are almost an institution. And I like that so many people know our gallery, count on our gallery, like our gallery, have been coming for a long, long time. The people that we've met over the years, the artists, the customers. I'm really proud of what we built. I sometimes miss my other career, but I also I feel really good about what we've created in downtown St. Petersburg.
And anything you want to add?
Well, I just wondered if you have like a favorite story about a customer or anything from the past 26 years that you can think of. Like, is there any one thing that sticks out to you?
Yeah, there are a lot of them. I think the ones that I feel best about are the stories where there were customers who needed a gift, who I knew didn't have money, and wanted to give whoever they were shopping for. They wanted to give them something nice, and I didn't. That didn't stop me from letting them buy something, even if they didn't have enough money, or even if they said to me, "Mike, I'll pay you sometime down the road." I didn't care. And in most instances, sometimes it took people a year or two, but they always paid up. And if they couldn't, they didn't hide from me. And I understood it. So I like the fact that we were there, that we've been there for that. God, Alena, there's so many things. Because for me, I like the fact that the gallery is financially successful. That of course, you can't. If it wasn't, you can't do that. But I also know that for a lot of people, they see it as their store, and they like to bring their family and their friends, their visitors, and they're proud of it. And that makes me feel really good. So when I hear people on the sidewalk, "Oh, I love that store. That's my favorite place." That makes me feel real good that we've created this for them.
So from Central Ave in 98 to Beach Drive, and it's now August 2024. I know you've never had a plan, but is this what you had the dream of looking like?
Yeah, I think it is. I walk in there, even, I think it happened to me last week. I'd been out of there for 3-4 days or 5 days, and I walked in and I looked around and I was like, wow, I'm really proud of this. And I remember, I think I called Alena, I think I called your mom to tell you how great the place looked, and seeing it with somewhat fresh eyes. So is it what I envisioned? I don't know, Matt, if I ever knew what I envisioned, but am I proud of it? 100%. Absolutely. I love when somebody comes in and looks around and goes, wow, this is a great place. So yeah, that makes me feel really good.
Thank you so much, Dad. Mike, thanks for joining us. I hope that gave you guys a little better understanding of how far the gallery has come over the years, how much it's changed, and how we really started as a small gallery on Central Ave that had just our mom's clay work, to now we have close to 225, 250 artists that we represent from across the country. It's been an amazing 26 years run. We've got to see it from the very beginning, and the hard work and the dedication that our parents have given to this gallery. It's amazing to see. And now it's been even more enjoyable for us to allow them to get out of the gallery, and they can have their own segment out of the gallery here soon. but we allow them to get out of the gallery and enjoy their years of hard work. So Mike had his favorite memory. Do you have a favorite memory of the gallery, Alena?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think one of my favorite stories from Shapiro's, from the gallery, is when I worked at the store in high school. I remember my dad telling me a story about how there was this little kid who came in and he wanted to buy a gift for, I think it was his mom or his grandmother, and he was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and he only had a few dollars, but he picked out this really nice little glass piece. It was probably $28, but dad sold it to him for the few dollars that he had. And then fast forward 15 years, that same little boy has continued to shop at the store. He's now grown. He has a great job, and he comes and he still shops for his family, and he now is able to afford everything, and he's able to, buy everything. And that stuck with him as a kid, and it stuck with me, seeing that, evolution and him grow up with the stores. I just think that's a cool thing that, we've become a part of some of our customers' lives and things like that. So that's pretty special.
Yeah, and I think two themes that you keep seeing popping up from episode to episode is relationships and family. And I find it awesome that whoever we talk to, whatever the topic is, those two major ideas keep coming to the forefront. And you constantly hear about relationships. And I think that's the most important part about small business is the relationships. And I think the family aspect as well, and that we've had customers who have become, like family, and we also have customers who purchase all their gifts and have evolved with their families as well. And it has been amazing to see over the past 26 years. So family's going to come up again next week.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Next week, we're bringing on another one of our artists. We're bringing on Hillborn Pottery. They are a family clay studio. They're actually one of our Canadian artists, so we're really excited for you to get to meet them. The mom started it all, so she's going to be joining us as well, as along with her daughter, who's kind of taken it over, and her husband. So they're also really fun people. We get to, when we go to shows and see them, they're some of the people that we like hanging out with after the show too. So it should be a fun episode next week.
Yeah, this is one episode I had circled. I think it might be our longest episode because I think the parallels between our two families are eerie, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it, and I cannot wait to see next week. But thank you again to everyone who has been listening, everyone who's been subscribing. Please help us share it. The more you share it, the more other people get to enjoy listening to us, and we're having a blast doing it, and we want to continue this podcast so that it can keep going on. And we have some really awesome ideas planned for the future. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Again, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Follow us on the social media, Instagram, Facebook. Like, subscribe. You know what to do. Tell your friends again. But thank you, everyone, for the support and for the listens. And any feedback you have, please send them our way. Anything else we want to talk about, or are we going to ready to wrap this up?
No, I'm good.
Well, until next week, guys, we'll see you again. Thank you. And see you next Thursday.
Bye.